So most of us by now are aware and have seen the account of the 13 South African soldiers that they were killed in the line of duty in the Democratic Republic of Congo against the battle was against the M23 rebels. And there's instability in that country, and South Africa is part of the peacekeeping mission in that country. And it's very interesting for me in that this mission has been South African soldiers have been in that on that mission for something like two decades, 20 years. And for some reason, whenever there isn't anything big that is happening in terms of casualties and things like that, we tend to forget about these things. And life just goes on until something like this has happened, whereby we have lost some of our own, brothers and sisters, sons and daughters, perhaps. And that's when we wake up to the fact and start asking questions. What are South African army doing in the Democratic Republic of Congo? Whose interests are they serving there? Why are we there? Why are we sacrificing South Africans' lives on behalf of the Democratic Republic of Congo and things like that? We start asking questions. And there's been speculations, things like the soldiers were under-resourced, they didn't have the right equipment, they don't have air support, and all these things. And those things are happening, those speculations are happening because of what? We have a poor leadership in this country. And I know I'm stating the obvious, you guys already know that. And if you think about it, when the 9 was announced that they had been killed in combat, you will think that the Minister of Defense will stand up and take the nation into a conference and tell us South Africans and reassure us. I can't imagine the agony and the pain that the parents of those men and women who are out there in the Democratic Republic of Congo, when they hear that there've been 9 South African soldiers being killed, what they were going through, or their siblings for that matter. And yet again, you find that the minister is quiet. And even his deputy, General Bantu Holomisa, also, who is also a soldier. You will think pairing somebody who doesn't know anything about being a soldier and somebody who's being a soldier, it will elevate perhaps that department to do things a little bit better, especially in terms of communication, especially in terms of leadership. It is easier to lead in the good times. Whenever there isn't a war and all of that, nobody's worried about South African SANDF. We're not fighting any wars. We're not being threatened by any country in terms of wars and all that. So a lot of times it's one of those departments that we don't pay so much attention to. And whenever moments like this, whenever we're in crisis, instead of the leadership standing up and taking the nation into their confidence and communicating, even if you do not have all the facts, but at least talk to us. Tell us what's going on. Tell us what you know. And it's so disappointing as well that even the commander-in-chief of the armed forces, our very own Matamela Cyril Ramaphosa, he's quiet about this. Like this, the deafening silence of the leadership of this country is appalling. I can't believe that South Africans' lives have been lost out of in another country, DRC, and we have sent them there. And yet we are quiet whenever they have passed on. And that's one of the most disappointing thing about this very government. The other aspect I want to bring to your attention of poor leadership and the way in which we like to reward leadership in this country, particularly the ANC government. I think about Angie Motshega has been a Minister of Basic Education from 2009 up until 2024, 15 years, one of the longest-serving ministers in the history of this country, but at least the longest-serving Minister of Basic Education, 15 years. So I want you to tell me, maybe I'm missing something. What is it that Angie in the 15 years that she has done that makes her such a great leader, that made her such a great Minister of Basic Education? Because I cannot think of anything for the life of me. What did Angie do as a Minister of Basic Education for South African education? I look at things like, I only see Angie whenever matric results are coming out. Whenever she comes and mentions like, okay, we got 80%, 90%, whatever the case may be. And whenever there's issues like, there's a million children that are registered for grade 1, but by the time they get to grade 12, half of those have disappeared in the system. I don't hear solutions when it comes to that. I haven't heard solutions in terms of that. Every year in January, there's issues in terms of spaces, not enough schools, and all these things. I never get. I don't know what Angie's solution has been in the last 15 years. Some of the things under her leadership was that there was an NGO that took it to court, Section 27, because of the pit toilets. Remember, there was a young boy, I think it was about 6 or 7, who died, who fell into a pit toilet and all that. Section 27 had to take it to court to compel her to commit that she's gonna take care of this pit toilet in the 21st century, in the democracy. South Africa has been struggling to get rid of the pit toilets, and the minister had to be taken to court for that. Okay, textbook saga, textbooks not delivered, and there's so many things. But I do not understand as to how this person stays in that position for 15 years. Okay, maybe corruption, I don't know, a rewarding of incompetence and all of that. I do not sit here and think like, wow, Angie Motshega has been an amazing minister. He's been there for 15 years. This is what she has done and all this type of things. I don't know that. Maybe if there is, please, I'd like to be educated in that respect. And I think that's why she was moved from basic education to be put in defense, because this is a quiet portfolio. If you think about it, if there's no wars and things like that, what is the likelihood that a lot of people in South Africa are caring about what the defense, the soldiers are doing, except when there is maybe a threat of war and things like that? A lot of times we tend to focus on things that matters the most to us in that moment, like your education, crime, economy, all these type of things. Nobody's thinking about so much about the army. What are they doing when there is no war, and things like that, the equipment that they have. I think she was put there because it's a quiet portfolio and nobody will be worrying about her. But unfortunately, this situation has exposed her, that even when she's been sitting in this department, not for a long time, what has she been doing? So there was an article of Action SA asked a question that in 4 months, there's about 10 million that has been spent in her department by her and her staff. 4 million traveling overseas, international trips, 2 million in terms of hiring cars and things like that, and other things that makes up that 10, like 4 months, really. And if she was traveling overseas and all this, what were those trips for? What has South Africa benefited from those trips? And I think it's that type of leadership, whereby somebody's unable to read the mood or read the room in the country. That's why even in this moment when there is a crisis, instead of her gauging the temperature of the country, because the people are worried, people are scared for their own family members who might be there, what's going to happen to them and things like that. Instead of taking the country to the confidence and communicating and reassuring the people, what they do, they go to ground. That's why even when the economy is so bad, somebody can just travel overseas just like that, spend 10 million with information. It's not her money. She doesn't care. And when you hear that these soldiers didn't have enough equipment, but a minister of defense is able to spend in 4 months 10 million rand. That 10 million rand could have gone so far in order to assist these men and women who put in their lives on the line on our behalf. So South Africa, you tell me if I'm being unreasonable here, that leadership is poor. We do not have leadership in the country. The commander-in-chief, disappointing. Nothing. Keeps quiet. At least if you don't say something, tell your minister to say something, speak to the nation. The deputy minister, General Bantu Holomisa, you've been a critic of the ANC as an opposition. Now that you are in government with them, you're quiet. This is really, really, really disappointing. And let's hope that something happens and all that. But we really have to beg for them to do something in order for us to show that we have leadership. Maybe that's why our soldiers have died out there, because of poor leadership. Maybe they were truly under-resourced for that matter. Maybe they were not combat. I do not know. But the fact of the matter is that all I know is that our leaders have disappointed us in this situation. So if you get some thoughts, please share them with me on your comments. What do you think? And if you think I'm out of order, let me know as well. If you agree, why you agree. And thanks again for always supporting us. And for those who have subscribed, thanks again. For those who like the video, those who shared the videos, thank you again. We like having these conversations with you guys. Even if when we disagree, I still want you guys to come here and disagree. I want to learn from you guys, and hope to see you again on the next video. Thanks again for tuning in. Bye-bye.